Hey guys, Terry here, Bite Me Box Tip-Ups. I got Rick behind the camera, so between the two of us, we're going to shoot a tips for use video here. Go over a couple important things once you own a tip-up now. Not complicated, just important so you get your best experience out of the tip-up. So first off, there is an assembly video online. Make sure you look at that. Real simple. There's just a few things you got to put together as far as the guts go inside of it. The box is all assembled. But right away when you get it out, you're going to want to make sure that you have all your components and everything. When you do set the box over the hole, you always want to put the hole right up in the front. And when you string it up, we want to run our line between these two bars, not put the hole back here and run it straight down, okay? That allows us to push the reel back and the holes up front to be able to pull the fish out, okay? We're always going to pack snow around the tip-up. And we always want to kind of turn it so you can't see any orange when the flag is down. So if you're sitting over there jigging, just turn the box so you can't see any orange. And when it pops up, no matter how far away it is, you know that you got a flag out there. Now, the heating portion of it. This is what a lot of people kind of get messed up on sometimes. You want to buy Kingsford. Only Kingsford charcoal. Don't buy the cheap stuff. Never use match light and never use lighter fluid. Because the idea is a slow burn, okay? What you want to do is drop 3 cold ones on the bottom, okay? Remember, the cold ones go on the bottom, the 2 lit ones go on top. You don't need lighter fluid, and you don't need a grill, none of that. Remember that the 2 top ones need to get the oxygen first as they burn down. Easiest way to light them, get yourself one of these torches like this, a self-igniting one, with an LP cylinder on it and a metal skimmer. Just blast on there, make sure it's dry, because moisture is your worst enemy. And when you're storing your coals, you want to make sure that you keep them in a Tupperware thing or a Ziploc bag with paper towel. Because if they get moisture in them, they won't chain light one off the other. Set them on top of there, blast on them for about a minute. When the coals turn a little bit white, set them on top of the cold ones and you'll get that nice slow burn. Now, when it burns all the way down and you notice that it's starting to go out, what you want to do is dry off your metal skimmer again, dump the can in there, give it a shake, throw the cold ones in the bottom again, take those nuggets, put them on top, and again, it'll make a nice slow burn. Now, there's going to be a series of vent holes here or a larger vent hole on the top, one of the two, and this is our vent damper. So you're able to, in the beginning, when you light it up, give it a bunch of oxygen, again, either a hole up here or down there, or close that off when you want to damper it down so that you get that nice slow burn. This functionality of this damper also is your lid stop. You put that all the way up. You want to make sure you get this tight enough that it holds. You can snug that up, and it'll hold the lid up for if the wind is blowing so that you're not nonstop blowing your lid down on you. Now, here's another important part of this is basically stringing it up. We just use a black nylon type line, run a barrel swivel. I like to run 6-pound Magnathin. It's 6-pound test, but it's the thickness of 4. But the lighter the line you can get, the more fish you're going to get. We always use a split shot for a line marker instead of a bobber. Again, less resistance is key to getting these fish. Put a barrel swivel, run 6, 8, 10 feet of your mono, and a tiny hook. We use number 20 treble hooks. They're tough to find online. If you can't find those, maybe go with an 18 or even just use a single hook. The smaller the hook, the better. And then you want to pick up one of those red hook removers made by Eagle Claw because the fish are going to swallow it. So you'll be able to get the hook out if you want to do a release without harming the fish.
Which is another advantage to the number 20. It does a lot less damage inside the fish. And when you use that hook remover, you don't get the bleeding and all that other stuff going on with it. So, yeah, that's a good idea.
Right. So when you get a fish, you're pushing your reel back out of the way and then just pulling the fish out there. So the other nice thing about running that small hook and that light line, then what we'll do for a minnow is we'll run just a medium to small fathead. Unless there's a bunch of small fish annoying you, always run a smaller minnow if you can, because a big 28-inch walleye, he's going to take that. A big perch that comes by, they'll take it. A crappie will take it. If you start out with that real big minnow, you're just limiting yourself to the bigger fish. Unless, again, you got a lot of smaller fish that are nonstop bugging you, then just keep stepping up the size of your minnow until that's, eliminated. So you're able to fish walleyes, perch, and crappie all in the same setting there. And always set it as sensitive as possible. And here's how we're setting this tip up. It's basically a 2-part deal. I always start with this peg down, and I'm grabbing the reel with this hand. I'm pushing it all the way back. I'm lifting up on the rod, and then I pull it back under it and set it on it. And right now you can see it's overhanging. So my first sensitive setting is swivel the reel back. And again, I'm swiveling the reel. So it's just hanging on there. Then I hold the reel tight and I slide my counterweight back. Don't ever go more than 3/4 of the way back or it'll just tip back. You're better off erring on the side of it a little bit, farther forward. Some guys will put a zip tie on the back so they don't slide it all the way back. And if you ever put a light or anything on there, you've got to compensate. Always test it once you set it. Make sure that it goes up. So if you put a light on there, once in a while you may get some snow that'll fill up the ball and add weight out there too. Again, if you have those type of conditions of the snow blowing, just run that counterweight farther forward. The real sensitive bite part of it is definitely there, coupled with this, so it'll still be pretty sensitive. Now, if I want to go stronger, again, push the reel back, pick up on the arm, pull the reel forward, and set it on there. Now, it's very rare that I fish with it this strong, but now you can see the reel's got to rotate farther for it to drop off, and I pull my counterweight all the way down, so I'm adding down force. Now that sucker minnow is just going to float that back and forth till you finally get a real hard strike. Okay? And you can even put the clicker on that we're going to go into here in a minute to add more resistance. But again, light line, small minnow, always set as sensitive as you can. So if they just breathe on there, it'll go up. Remember, you're not going to get the wind trips with it fishing that sensitive, even in strong winds, because that wind blows through the holes in the ball rather than shaking it around and causing it to go up. So get your heat in there and your sensitive setting all the time.
It's important to remember too, when you're fighting those fish with that number 20, when you got to really slow down a bunch when you're fighting them, and when they turn to come up the hole, that's when that hook is most vulnerable to pull out of there. A lot of guys think they're going to lose them, but the hook does wrap around that jawbone until you get to that point. So slow down once they start coming up the hole, then really slow down. You've got them at that point, and just get them up in there, grab them, pull them out the box.
Right, and like we said, you're better off going with as light a line as possible. Take your time, slow down, and fight him. Because if you go too heavy a line or too big because you're worried about losing that big fish, he'll never bite in the first place. So at least you have a fighting chance, and you learn how to hand fight the fish. Okay, so some of the functionality of this reel then is the clicker. It puts it in a hard reel mode. That's this little button up and down, okay? And the reason we're going to use that is at the end of the day, there's a cork here. We're going to put the hook in the cork, turn that clicker on, and cinch it up. That way everything stays neat and self-contained. Now when you come out the next day, if everything's froze up, light those 2 coals, get them going, then go drill your holes. Then when you come back, everything's all thawed out, so you're not missing those fish with a froze up line. The other part of this reel, there's a little tab on here that pushes up and down. You just push it down and the reel will split in 2. Once a year, just put a little bit of oil on there to keep that thing freewheeling. Or if your mono were to happen to get in between there, that's your way to get that back out of there as well. Don't forget, we have the extra reel assemblies if you didn't get them in your original purchase. Guys will put steel on one, mono on the other. One spin of the wing nut, you can go back and forth from steel to mono. Or if you have mono on both, you snap one off in the cold weather, just come out and swap out your reels and tie up later when it's warm out. What do you think, Rick? Anything else that from a tips for use standpoint?
A big thing we always like to tell guys too, make sure you're capping off that charcoal can before you go transporting that tip up around, because you don't want to start a fire in the back of your truck. So it's really nice. It's got the lid on there. You just go ahead and snap that on there. It'll snuff your coals out. You can do a shakedown to relight them again. I don't know if you even talked about the shakedown part. If your coals burn down, that's a real good tip, that you'll have some hot coals in there left, and it may not be throwing out the heat you want, so you just dump them back in your skimmer.
Dry off the skimmer first, so real important.
Yep. And then shake all your ashes off of there, throw your coals back on top of 3 that are unlit again, and you'll get yourself going. That'll give you another 7 to 8 hours or whatever your conditions are allowing you.
Right. Cold ones on the bottom, those little glowing nuggets after you do the shakedown, those go on top and you'll start the process over. Another thing we found out is, this comes with the lid for transportation and snubbing them out. We always recommend using that. A good place to store that when you're fishing so you don't lose it and the wind don't blow away is just close your lid. You got to force it a little bit, but it goes in there just enough that it stays nice and snug if you push hard on there a little bit. And if you ever have any questions or any problems and it's not working the way that we tell you that it should be working, please send us an email with your phone number. We're really good about getting back to people. Make sure you're following us on Facebook too, because we're always doing giveaways. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and anytime you can send us pictures or videos and share us or tag us. We love that. We love to put those pictures up on our website, and we look forward to hearing from you. Remember, it makes a great gift idea. Birthdays, Father's Day, Christmas. People love getting these for those holidays. So, yeah, I mean, I think we talked about, pack snow around it too, to make sure that, you get, keep it nice and cool in there.
Yep,
Or nice
we'll
and
talk.
warm so that the wind's not blowing underneath it. That's the key with that as well. Anything else you got there, Rick, before we
So
wrap
the
this
other
up?
thing is they're going to draw a lot of attention because you are going to be pulling a lot of fish out of them. Guys are going to come over and ask what's in there. We do appreciate you giving them demos. The website, they're going to ask next, where can I get them? The website is right on the front of the box, boxtipups.com. That's how they're going to find us, probably how you found us. So anything you can do to help us promote, we love it. Like he mentioned, pictures, videos, all of that stuff is great.